Mr. Fitz, when him Fitz Henley, it seems as if he cannot but make an ass of himself in a parliament. And it seems that he has outdone himself once more, ladies and gentlemen. There was a parliament senate today, and what's your name? What's that white lady's name? I don't remember her name in about. She came with a presentation about the environment, and I found it. I was actually recording it live on my Bolo V&R clips. I want to encourage you guys to go and sub up to Bolo V&R clips, because when I have time, I will be recording these Senate situations on that platform exclusively. As a matter of fact, the video that I'm about to play is from my Bolo V&R clips, the recording from today. Alright? So let's hear what this man, Mr. Fitzhenley, went and did to play politics where the environment is concerned. And it triggered me. That's why I'm doing this live. Let's go.
Thank you, sir. I rise to indicate that I'm in full support of the bills which propose to amend the Natural Resource Conservation Authority Act and the Wildlife Protection Act, which are for this Parliament. I note that in general, the bills propose to increase fines and update custodial sentences, and it also seeks to modernize the legal framework for environmental management in Jamaica. The proposal for the maximum fines for some offences under the NRCA Act and the Wildlife Protection Act, to my mind, is a step in the right direction. At the heart of some pieces of legislation which propose to impose custodial sentences or fines is to act as a deterrent. I'm heartened at this increase, and I'm optimistic that this increase will go some way towards acting as a deterrent to people, individuals, or companies which might be minded to breach our environmental protection laws. I don't think there is any question, sir, that the prescribed fines outlined in the draft legislation that's before us today are more proportionate to the offences compared to what existed before. I believe this legislation was last amended approximately a decade and a half ago. The amendments we propose to make today are indeed timely. I'm heartened as well that the bill does not propose to trespass on the discretionary power of members of the judiciary.
Like up a video,
when
please.
These amendments are passed, we'll have ample space to apply penalties according to the severity of the environmental crime. You see, sir, there was a time in the 1990s, in the early 2000s, certainly between 2016 and 2012, where I'm of the view that environmental protection was treated as a back burner issue, and one that presents itself as a potential annoyance to the process of national development and an impediment to the goal of getting our economy to expand by more sizable margins. I'm confident that a series of actions taken by this administration, including the move to amend the NRCA Act and the Wildlife Protection Act, reiterate that this administration does not believe in merely giving lip service to protecting the environment, but we are taking tangible action in support of this noble cause. On the matter of environment, sir, it is worth noting that it's the administration of Prime Minister Andrew Holness that declared approximately 80,000 hectares of the cockpit country as protected, a matter that was discussed for decades upon decades upon decades. I distinctly recall as well that it is this administration that abandoned what appeared to be plans to cause prospecting licenses to be issued for the cockpit country. It is good to note that it is this administration that also moved to impose a plastic ban to demonstrate how serious we are in treating with the matter of protecting the environment. The administration has also moved to pass approximately 14 forestry orders, bringing Jamaica beyond the approximately 30% mark that the UN prescribes for protected areas. I recall as well, sir, when I was in media, there was talk about development, commercial development on the Goat Islands. A lot of talk about it. And a former cabinet minister in the PNP administration said to myself and a colleague that the administration would consult as widely as possible. They won't be accused of not appearing to consult. But he said Goat Island would happen. Yes, that's what he said. And that plays into a sort of sentiment that, you know, potential buildings or commercial development can create jobs. And why are environmentalists making a big deal of Too Little Lizard? I recall that being said when the whole idea of Goat Island development was being actively pursued by the erstwhile PNP administration. I am proud, sir, to be part of an administration which recognizes that the issue of environmental protection is not merely about lip service. It's way more nuanced. And that we have taken a series of credible legislative steps to show that we value the protection of the environment. I recall as well that when the current administration came to office on the matter of environment, there was discussion among the former administration, the former executive, about a coal plant in St. Elizabeth. And I could go on and on and on concerning legislative steps taken by this administration to protect the environment. Indeed, sir, I believe it's a fair statement to say that no administration in the history of independent Jamaica can test or has a more credible track record at protecting the environment than the administration of Prime Minister Andrew. And that, sir, is because the Prime Minister and Minister Matthew Somuda, who they have a grasp of the issues and they understand that for the sake of current and future generations, whether human, flora, or fauna, an investment in environmental protection is one that we cannot afford not to make. And before I close, I'd encourage our partners in corporate Jamaica, including stakeholders in the mining and bauxite industry, to understand that there can be no prosperity steeped in pollution. And no sustainable economic development can be achieved by way of environmental degradation. I strongly encourage our partners in the private sector, and in particular in the bauxite and alumina industry, to appreciate this fact. It is in that brief context, sir, that I support passage of the bill which is before us today. Thank you.
So, I want to say, I just showed you guys the article with the NEPA situation, the secret deal. I mean, the audacity, you know, just the audacity of this man to bring that up, to make it seem like they are the standard we're following, defending the environment is concerned. Let us deep dive into the details of this secret deal. Let's read. Dionne Jackson Miller. I want to make sure so I want to go over there and sub up to her. See, Dionne Jackson Miller. Yes. Fair use. Let's go.
There's a whole heap going on here. Let's break it down, all right? This all started the 11th of December 2023 when there was an oil spill into the Rio Cobre. This is what NEPA, that's a National Environment and Planning Agency, said in its report, in its chronology of events about the spill. They said that when they investigated on the 12th of December, it was revealed that heavy fuel oil had been released from the boiler house at Jamaica Beverages that's operated by Tradewind Citrus, and that's a company that makes True Juice. An enforcement notice was issued and charges were filed against Tradewinds for breaches of the Wildlife Protection Act for polluting a river containing fish, and the matter was being heard in the St. Catherine Parish Court. Now, I should say that according to NIPO, their enforcement report dated the 23rd of February 2024 said Tradewinds took all necessary steps to address the impact of the oil spill and that they had eliminated any further threat to the environment from the facility. But shock, shock, shock. NEPA comes to court last week and says they came to an agreement with Tradewinds and they're discontinuing the court case. The judge asked for a copy of the agreement. The lawyer say no, the judge can't see the agreement because it's confidential. Of course, that makes headlines and everybody's saying, oh, what the hell are going on? So did I say I don't know where to start? That's because I still cannot wrap my mind around the idea that our environmental regulator felt they had the authority to enter into any kind of agreement on our behalf.
Emotional damage.
A corrupt government cannot liberate the people. If the head of the stream is corrupt, the entire river will be also.
Ball out! Whoa! We need help, Jesus. Jamaica need help. Shift the parliament. Shift the election. Shift everything. Remove them out there. Take out the cockroach.
On behalf of the citizens of the country in relation to an environmental protection issue, and then tell me and you say is a secret deal and we can't lay kind of agreement on our behalf, right, on behalf of the citizens of the country in relation to an environmental protection issue, and then tell me and you say is a secret deal and we can't see it. So enter the Minister of Environment. Well, we call him that. He really isn't the Minister of Environment. Anyway, Matthew Samuda deals with environmental matters, and he gets involved and says a secret deal is to be released. And when we see it, bear shock are gone into this here case.
For the juicy
You can imagine looking at the details of this and hearing that man say.
Now, Minister Samuda tells me he heard about this matter on the news. But remember, I said he really isn't Minister of Environment. That's because NEPA, the National Environment and Planning Agency, falls under the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation. Who is the actual minister? It's Prime Minister Andrew Holness. And up to the time I've recorded this video, we haven't heard from him.
emotional damage.
What can go so?
In terms of what he knew and when he knew it. And it's always important, in a story like this, when you have wheels within wheels, to take a step back and to look at the big picture. And part of the big picture here is that this is a prominent Jamaican company that exports products. They're before the court on a criminal charge of environmental pollution and a case that looks as if it could very well be successfully prosecuted and the company convicted. And that is a situation that could lead to a whole heap of reputational damage for the company here at home and abroad where they export to, and perhaps in places that take environmental issues a whole heap more seriously than we do.
People, we need what investigation needs to be done. I did a video dubbing it a word to the future government of Jamaica. I did it today. You guys need to go and watch that video. I put out a proposal. I want them to tag Mark Golin and the UIC president. Because we know say JP is not going to do it based off their actions here in this. But let's continue. We need a people's agency where when stuff like this happen, they are funded to investigate it by the government. It's something that the government cannot stop. They automatically get the funds to investigate these types of situations. Because I want to know who for friend this. The person or persons that own this company, Tradewinds, who are them a friend in our government? Is any of them friends with people in the government? How did they get such a sweet deal? But this government want to tell us that they are serious about protecting the environment. Listen, man.
Stop the cap. Stop the cap right now. Stop the cap. No bullshit, bro.
Stop lying. Stop lying. Stop lying.
But back to the secret deal. So the mediation agreement that NEPA agreed to with Tradewinds Citrus was released. And as I said, it's shocking, honestly. No wonder them never want to see it. So the deal now is between NRCA and trade winds. And you hear people talk about NRCA, you hear we talk about NEPA. NRCA is a Natural Resources Conservation Authority. It's a statutory body established under the Natural Resources Conservation Act, and it has responsibility for environment planning. Now, the National Environment and Planning Agency, that's NEPA, does the technical and the administrative work of the Natural Resources Conservation Authority. So certainly for the purposes of this issue, you can think of them as one big entity. So according to the deal now, NRCA agrees to immediately withdraw from the prosecution and to try to put an end to the court proceedings, including by using entry of a nolle prosequi. Now, a nolle prosequi is a legal device that the prosecution uses to suspend proceedings, and it's important to say that a nolle doesn't end proceedings. It suspends a court case, and the prosecution can then go back later on and continue the court proceedings. For instance, if you get more evidence, or if there are witnesses that are now willing to come forward that weren't willing to come forward before. So here's the thing. NEPA had been granted what's called a fiat to prosecute environmental cases by the Director of Public Prosecutions. A fiat means permission to prosecute. So instead of prosecutors from the office of the DPP handling the matter, these cases, including this one, were being handled by permission by NEPA. But acting DPP Claudette Thompson told me on Radio Jamaica's Beyond the Headlines that the DPP's office really didn't know what was going on in this case. She said NEPA wrote to the office of the DPP in October saying it had been recommended, they didn't say by who, that they asked for a nolle, and that they would be back in court on November 27th and that they urgently needed guidance. Now, Ms. Thompson said on November 27th, her office wrote back saying they needed more information, said they didn't have the file, with the reports and letters and everything that went on in the matter, and she said they can't give guidance if they don't have the background information. And she said the next thing she heard, she was hearing on news that the matter had been disposed of. All right, so here's a look at the agreement itself. Tradewinds agrees to take all reasonable steps to maintain and expand its use of best environmental practices and will actively collaborate with NEPA and community groups in environmental monitoring and developing sustainable solutions for the areas of the Rio Cobre adjacent to its properties. NRCA agreed to release Tradewinds from all claims and lawsuits. It agreed it won't make any claim against Tradewinds. They agreed Tradewinds is not admitting liability, so Tradewinds is not agreeing that they did anything wrong. So here's one of the causes why I said this agreement is shocking. The parties said that they won't bring or assist in any legal action against each other arising directly or indirectly out of this particular situation. So the government environmental regulator, right, that has primary responsibility for protecting the environment, has agreed in a secret deal that if any citizen decides to sue Tradewinds in association with this pollution incident, that they not help them. Now,
so people, at this fits only talk about with FEMA government being a caring government and one that is serious about protecting the environment, when them sign secret deal with Tradewinds, where if citizens was supposed to come up later on and sue them for this situation, the government would not aid the citizens in the lawsuit. Yo, me say, hey, it's too easy for the buck eat that. When them come in Parliament and tell the world so much life, sometimes, so them need to get some, hey, I shouldn't even know. Yo.
The one attorney, Marcus Goff, who is representing the group Friends of the Rio Cobre, calls this agreement a sellout. It is a disgraceful betrayal of the public trust. That's what it is. That's what I would call it. Then, of course, even more...
Dionne Jackson Miller, if me love you one more time. It is a disgrace... Say that again, Dionne Jackson. Say it again.
Representing the group Friends of the Rio Cobre calls this agreement a sellout. It is a disgraceful betrayal of the public trust. That's what it is. That's what I would call it. Then, of course, the even more disgraceful attempt to keep this agreement secret. So look at the agreement again. It says they agree to maintain in strict confidence the existence of this settlement agreement. So we weren't even supposed to know it existed.
Want to hear that?
Wonder if somebody screwed up there.
Want to hear that?
And the fact that we now know what is in it should not blind us to the fact that it's completely out of order that this agreement was made at all. So according to Minister Samuda, the government wasn't satisfied that the issue had been handled at the board leadership level.
People like and share the video, man. Like and share the video. Don't keep this to yourself. This a prime time breakdown and just eat that. Like and share the video.
Muda, the government wasn't satisfied that the issue had been handled at the board leadership level with the required standards of transparency and openness. So the board chairman, Weldon Madden, offered his resignation, and the minister says his resignation was accepted. Now bear in mind, Mr. Madden had told the Gleaner he didn't remember the board making a decision on this. Bear in mind as well, it's Mr. Madden who supposedly signed the secret agreement. A signature said to be his on the signature page, although we don't see any name above the signature. Now tell me something, it makes sense to you that the board chairman doesn't remember anything about this issue and agreed to make a secret deal with a company accused of environmental pollution, and the board chairman doesn't even remember it?
All lies will be exposed. That's all. And anyone who takes that the wrong way, know why they take it the wrong way.
Something not right, my wisdom warriors. Something is not right. Tell about them.
What can go so?
Buy out! Whoa! We need help, Jesus. Jamaica need help. Shift the parliament. Shift the election. Shift everything. Remove them out there.
A secret deal that must have sent up red flags for anybody who looked at it, right? Tell me, what is happening here? What is really happening here? Was the board chairman made a scapegoat? Is he being thrown under the bus? Now bear in mind, Mr. Samuda says he agrees that the criminal case should have been withdrawn because he says NEPA told him that the oil spill was largely confined to Tradewind's property, but that some seepage occurred into the Rio Cobre, but that the extent of the seepage wasn't significant enough to cause a fish kill or require an environmental impact assessment. They're saying is,
according to the people on the ground, that is a bold-faced lie. The people that is in the Rio Cobre, there's videos of them telling you that this has affected their fisheries. Let's continue.
not that zero fish were killed. They were saying whole heap of fish never dead, therefore it doesn't rise to the level of being called a fish kill. He also says that a determination was made by NEPA that...
What kind of foolishness that? What kind of nonsense is that? If fish died, it's a fish kill. What do you mean it never rise to the level of a fish kill? Yo, them people are upset me, man. Let me just try to do this fast, guys.
There wasn't any basis for compensation or extensive consultation with stakeholders, and that Tradewind Citrus assumed full responsibility for the cleanup, and the cost of the cleanup was a whole heap more than the fines under the Wildlife Protection Act, which amounts to a maximum of $100,000 for breaches. So in other words, according to NEPA and the minister, the incident wasn't big enough to warrant a criminal prosecution, and they're saying that the company spent $19 million.
Hold on, how them for determine that?
What can go so?
Oh, NEP. Hey. Yo, Bridget, me say, I wouldn't even know ya, man. Yo, wanna know see what go on, people?
Dollars on cleanup, and that because if they had been convicted under the act, the maximum fine would have been $100,000. It didn't make sense going on with the court case. Except though, some residents said they had suffered damage from the spill. The Gleaner, for instance, spoke to a fisherman called Andrew Ferron, who said the oil spill limits the catch, the fish aren't biting, they can't catch any. And the residents had been protesting and they had demanded compensation.
Of course.
And Dr. Goff, the lawyer, said that NEPA told them to submit claims to Tradewind Citrus. By NEPA, what this has done is to completely destroy public trust in the agency.
Of course.
Because you have betrayed the public
Of
trust.
course.
Even the office of the DPP says going forward, they're going to have to review the arrangement.
People, me can't believe some not get 60 likes yet. Come on, people, hit the like button, man. Come on, hit the like button, man. This is bad, man. Me can't believe some not do me like this.
In place to allow NEPA to prosecute environmental crimes. We shouldn't forget this, and we shouldn't let it drop. But speaking of dropping, please, what you think about all of this, drop your comments below. Let me know what you think. Really, always.
Mr. Brown.
President, thank you. I'm going to be batting later, but I must
Talk to him, Mr. Brown. Talk to him, because Jano.
since Senator Fitzenley intervened, must use my knowledge of history to tell him that the first government to include a portfolio on environment was the Michael Manley government of 1972. To show
serious we were and decide about and are still about the environment, the Most Honorable Portia Simpson Miller appointed a Minister of Climate Change. And they scoffed at it. We soon tell you later on. He didn't import ice, that's for sure, we know. But Mr. President, we are concerned about the secret deal by NEPA with the private sector company, the pollution in the recovery. We are concerned about the denigration of the Falmouth mangroves to facilitate the building of a gas station by a connected party. And we took into account the concerns of the people of Portmore in putting the Portmore highway, leg of the highway, something that they oppose, and we ensure that the mangroves were replanted and they're growing. Let us stop playing politics where politics is not necessary. Senator Abka, fittingly, both sides have had errors on the environment. Both sides have worked to improve the environment. We're not going to make any big thing about special mining lease 173. We're not going to do that. The reality is this country, oftentimes, like all countries, have to make a choice. In fact, Senator Hill, your favorite US politician is drill, baby, drill. Your favorite politician in the US is about drill, baby, drill in environmental protective area. Mr. President, I just simply said to Mr. Parliamentary Secretary Fitzgerald, I know you have to speak because you have been paid to do that. But the reality is, let's recognize that there's balance needed on the environment. May it please you, Mr. President. And I yield and reserve for the rest of my State of the Nation presentation.
Thank you very much, Minister.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, the first thing that I wish to do, and I thank Senator Fraser-Binns for her.
People right now, I not even want to hear this lady, you know, because I wish I said even relevant. We done make a point already. Next on to the next topic. Because there's no way, after that the NEPA deal they alone, there's no way Fitzgerald can get up in a parliament and have the audacity to come talk about the JLPs of some type of standard where protecting the environment is concerned. Absolute nonsense. Alright? And that has been clearly debunked in this video. Let me know what you think in the comment section. How thought? Right,